Hi there, and welcome to Canceling COVID. It is real talk with real people looking for real solutions. I'm Tanya Rivens, and again, Canceling COVID, joining you on this Wednesday afternoon. Thank you so much for tuning in as we work together to build stronger families and communities in the middle of a global pandemic. And we've taken on quite a task, but we see a little bit of light happening. The top story today. Whoa, wait, talking about celebration. North Carolina, they've relaxed. Not me say they. We have. The governor has now relaxed the COVID restrictions, but it's all because of the work that we've been putting in. So, all owing some places to allow them to reopen at 100% capacity. That's pretty huge. So, starting this Friday, we're going to start to see a change. We're inching back slowly back to normal. So, Governor Roy Cooper says the state's fast and fair vaccine distribution has helped the COVID-19 metrics to drop, and North Carolina can move forward with easing restrictions if we do so safely. That means we got to stay focused, guys. We're not out of the woods yet. So the alcohol curfew ends up to share with you. We are back live now. I think I went out for a minute, but the indoor gathering limit jumps from 25 to 50. The alcohol curfew, that's coming to an end. So that makes a lot of people happy. And the outdoor gathering limit jumps from 50 to 100. So you doubling up now, which is great news. Now, museums, aquariums, retail businesses, shops, and salons, they'll also be able to operate at 100% capacity. Boy, we didn't see that coming and didn't know when we would get back to that. So it's great that now we are making progress. And that leads to the question of the day. What does North Carolina's phase two reopening mean to you? What exactly does that mean to you? There are a range of answers for that because if you're out and about and you've seen the difference, whether you're going to a restaurant or bar or hair salon or small businesses, your heart has to ache for the challenges that they are having to deal with as well. So perhaps you're excited to return to your new normal. Maybe you're still hesitant and you will continue to stay at home. I know we've talked about whether you will keep wearing the mask or not, but either way, I'd love for you to chime in. Come on, hit me up in the chat. I'd love to get your response or your feedback on that. Whatever the case, I want to hear from you. So leave your comments in the chat. I'll be listening and looking for you as we continue to discuss this because I'm excited, especially for small business owners. And I've got my very first guest who's going to come in who had to deal with a lot of transition as well. So North Carolina's governor has moved to reopen. The big news again for small business owners who have been financially in a financial limbo. And it's been really very scary. I know, because not knowing at what point, when do you say, I just can't do this anymore? So we're going to bring in our very first guest. She's a successful small business owner. She's one of Charlotte's top hairstylists, and she knows the impact of COVID too well. And of course, she puts up with me every week, all the time. Shameless plug here, everybody. This is my hairstylist, and you all know I can be extra, and she has to deal with it, and she does it with a smile all the time. I call her Shika, but Roshica Torrence. So you're one of the small business owners. I couldn't wait to get you on. So thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, yes. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So let's dive in and talk about this. So we're going to start with you with the question of the day. If you think about it, and I apologize if you didn't get the questions in advance, we usually try to at least give you an idea, but you're a pro at this. North Carolina's phase two reopening. Tell me, how does that impact you? What does that mean?
Well, for me and myself, the way my business works, I think I'm just going to continue to be careful. I know everybody's excited. The weather's breaking. We can get back outside, and that's great. But, being a hairstylist, I think it's still important being in such close proximity with people to still just try to take one or two clients at a time. You can still, I mean, you can only work on like one or two people at a time anyway. So I don't feel the need to rush to just fill the chairs and just have everybody close again. I think we still should stay 6 feet, wear our masks, keep the PPP in stock, sanitize, wash our hands, and just do our best to, I think we just still stay on top of things.
That's a wonderful response. And that's a responsible business owner too, folks, because people are jumping, chomping at the beats. But for somebody, chomping at the bits rather, but for some people, out of necessity, they may not be able to do that. But I see you guys hopping on and putting your comments. Hey, Miss Carr, we'll get that on in just a minute. But I want you to paint the picture for me here, Shika, as a business owner, when we all started going through this and COVID hit, what was the first thing that went through your mind when you got word that you had to go through all of these changes and you had to stay at home? Obviously it impacted your business in a big way.
It did. It was shocking. It took a while to set in. It took a while to process really what was going on and how to move forward. When the first shutdown happened, it was like, okay, just rest. Just rest. Just be grateful for this time to have with family. The people within your household that you don't get to spend as much time with on a daily day. It was just process. And then when things reopened, it was just the panic of finding things to be able to reopen safely. It was just like most of us business owners were out here with the general public trying to find, sanitizers and just trying to find the equipment we needed to come back safely. That was a challenge, but we made it happen, and there were some resources out there that was available to business owners exclusively that I was able to take advantage of, and I hope other small business owners were able to take advantage of. But it was hard. It was tough. It was scary. Nobody really knew what to do when everything first happened. It was just like, take the time to rest and then process and then try to move forward.
And a lot of people haven't been able to move forward, especially small business owners. We had an expert on, Natalie, last week and talked about the small businesses, especially the hair salons and the barbers, and some of them not having their business in order. And for the most part, for some, it still is a cash only business as far as barbershops. Now, you have a pretty tight business plan, a business model that works for you, but kind of walk us through what it was like to run it during COVID, because you mentioned some of the changes you had to make. These changes, like prior to COVID, you were able to allow, I guess, no limit on how many people were allowed inside versus what you had to do now. So,
Right.
can you talk about that a little bit, and then financially how that impacted you?
Um, that was a bit of an adjustment. Myself, I don't have an assistant, I'm just like a sole, I'm the business. So for myself, it was interesting changing my scheduling and working out, being able to just service one person at a time. That was a big adjustment. And I can understand it being very difficult to be able to, apply for those grants and loans and things out there. Um, for some business owners, for me, myself, I was able to apply for some of the
The grants.
monies that were available for the SBA association. But I know for some people that may have been difficult, depending on when you opened your business and when you got started, how you got started. Um, I don't know. I know a lot of people were left out.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard the stories of people that were left out.
And that,
And I know that was very unfortunate.
yeah. So now, Shika, but financially, the impact of prior to COVID versus post COVID, did you see much of a hit on your business?
Um, Me personally, it was an adjustment. It was. I can't say specifically um how much. I mean, I'm grateful to have a spouse who was able to work through the whole thing. My business specifically, I haven't sat down and saw exactly how much that 2-month closing impacted. I know it was hard.
Okay.
It was hard. It was an adjustment. I was able to get a loan to be able to cushion that adjustment, but I like specifically, I'm not sure
Okay.
how much loss there was,
And I think
but
you
it would
can
like
go ahead.
it was a big adjustment.
And I think you kind of shared as well when just your response already. And when it comes to finances versus safety, there is no price that you can put on that.
It was just like for me, it was like, let's just come back slow. Let's just see a couple people a day. Let's make sure we're checking temperatures and wearing masks and washing our hands and spraying everything. And then it's like, you know, uh, just trying to keep a positive attitude and trying to keep a light heart about everything.
Yeah.
It was hard to even try to go back and see what lost because there's been so much loss overall because of the pandemic.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, and
I
you
don't know if
just
I answered that question
you
correctly.
did, you did, because again, it's not just finance losses that we had financially, losses where we've lost loved ones, losses where our children are struggling in school. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So you're absolutely right. I want to say here, Miss Carr has hopped on, and good afternoon. She says it would be nice to go more places, especially outdoor activities. Still gonna wear her mask around the crowds though. She says she has her hair slayed. Oh, she's talking about your hair, so that's what I was back from
Oh,
her stylist.
thank
She
you.
said she has her hair slayed, so thank you for that. Erica Simonton Beatty just hopped on. Good afternoon, and hopefully she'll weigh in on the question of the day as well. Now that we're going back to phase two, what kind of adjustments and what does that mean to you, and what type of changes will you make? I know there was some help out there, and you mentioned that about the PPP loans, and even they allow private contractors this time to get unemployment. People say the application process is confusing. Did you have to get any other help or find anybody out there that could help small business owners?
It is hard. It is hard. If you're not like just familiar with filling out the type of paperwork, the type of questions they were asking, it is kind of difficult. If you're a cash business and you may have another job and may not necessarily have to do the same paperwork as far as tax filings and everything as other businesses, then it may be have been hard to access those monies. I can imagine for some people. Um, it
Did you have to
it was a
find
lot of
anybody
a
that
lot of questions that the average small business owner may not understand how to answer, and maybe there should have been like some counseling available to be able to answer those questions properly to be able to get approved for that assistance.
I agree. I agree. So as we wrap things up, any other words, encouragement, or anything you want to share with other small business owners that are planning actually to try to continue through COVID? We know a lot of people didn't make it, aren't going to make it. I think it also speaks volumes to your personality and your business model to be able to maintain and sustain. But what even if someone's planning on starting a business right now, what would you say to them?
I would say do it. Just make sure you take it slow, be consistent, try to sanitize, wash hands, just encourage people to stay home if they don't feel well. But I would still encourage people to do it because there's still, I mean, we now have been granted, the access to move around again. So take advantage of that. But I still would encourage people to try to be careful. I would encourage people to, follow their intuition as far as being immunized. And I don't know, I would just still say take it slow, wear your mask, wash your hands, sanitize, and go for it.
Good stuff. Good words. And again, thank you so much, everyone. Rashika, we call her Shika. Give out your information. If you're looking for new clients, you guys are back to 100% now. But I must say, you've done a heck of a job just keeping everything in order through all of this. And I already warned everybody. People that know me know I can be a little extra. Everybody, she puts up with me. That's for sure. She has been for quite some time and accommodates me. And she's all of the good days, the good hair days I have. When I'm having bad hair days, they're all on me because I can't do a thing with it. But she always keeps me encouraged. So as we wrap things up, make sure you give out your information where people can call and contact you.
Okay, you can find me on Style Seat. I'm only taking appointments directly because we're still in a pandemic, but you can find me on Style Seat. My information is there. Search me Roshica Torrence Paysour. My salon name is Chic Hair Studio LLC, and I'm looking forward to meeting anyone who is looking forward to having healthy hair.
Oh, thank you so much. And I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to chat with us. So, again, I call her Shika. Yes, she's on speed dial and just a beautiful person. As you can tell, even as she was sharing just now, her approach, she's not just like most stylists, not just doing your hair, but they're also kind of your connection when it comes to how you're approaching life, how you're dealing with things in life. And she always sees the positive. So, great stuff. That's Rashika Torrence Paysour, and you can find her on Style Seat. As I see, Erica has weighed in a question of the day. She says that she is going to be grateful to have access to more outdoor activities, and she will continue to keep wearing a mask. And I really like these responses because that means we're using caution and we're not just diving in. We know that we still have work to do. But hats off to Governor Cooper. Boy, did he win some hearts over on yesterday, didn't he? Yes, he did, because he made a lot of people happy, especially as we're headed towards spring break and for Resurrection Weekend. My mom is always trying to figure out how we can get the family together and still stay safe. And so we had already talked about maybe putting a tent outside, and I'm not sure which direction we're going, but still, it's great that, especially for the grandparents, that they get an opportunity to start seeing their children and getting back together again. So a question of the day, we're asking, what does North Carolina's phase two reopening mean to you? I'd love to hear your responses. I see you hopping on, so just drop something in the chat. You might say, I'm not changing anything right now. You might say, hey, I can't wait to get out and just run and hang out and party and laugh and do whatever. You better be careful, though. Just use caution, but still, it's nice that things are opening up. So as of Tuesday morning, more than 1.4 million North Carolinians were fully vaccinated. Look at y'all. 14% of the state's population. The governor says that's one big reason why the state can begin to reopen. And you have to know, in our community, that's huge, because a lot of people started out saying, no way, ain't gonna do it. But there's still a warning that mask and 6 feet of separation of social distancing is crucial. So you can't let your guard down completely. And one of the people who does not allow us to let our guard down, who always keeps us on point, who always lets us know what's happening. She has a great pulse on this pandemic. It's extremely crucial to know your status regardless. We've got Dr. Tracia Black, who also supports this show. She provides free testing daily with her organization, Groundwater Solutions. She gives us great info every time we talk to her. So, Dr. Black, let's get started. What do you say to the question of the day? What does North Carolina's phase two reopening, what does it mean to you?
Okay. Well, hi, Tanya. Hi, everybody. I am of two minds. So, on the one hand, I am super, super, super excited that we are going to phase two of reopening because, I kind of equate COVID-19 as like a chronic disease. So, say you as an individual receive a diagnosis of a chronic disease, you have to learn to live life now with that disease. That doesn't mean you stop living. So the reopening for me is us learning to live with COVID and still do life without having to be sheltered in place, without having to be restricted to our homes. The other mind is afraid because I think some people think that reopening means we don't have to worry about COVID anymore. COVID is still there, and it is still a life-threatening illness that the world is struggling with. And so we get the vaccines and people think, well, that means I don't have to worry about COVID anymore. And I think we need to put on a billboard somewhere, or like the Hollywood sign in bright shining lights, that the vaccine does not stop the spread of COVID. It doesn't. And so we still have to be safe. So my fear is that people are going to go out with the reopening and the places being at 100% capacity, and they're not going to do the things like Shika was just talking about. They're not going to maintain those same principles that kept us safe in 2020. The masking, the social distancing, the hygiene, the testing. I just think they're already not doing many of those things. And so I think our numbers are going to spike because it's going to be unsafe environments.
And that's unfortunate, but I have to say, hats off to the people that are viewing and that are joining
Yes.
us. We've got some pretty smart guys. Miss Carr says she'll be glad to see her mom in the nursing facility. We can't forget about them. She says she got her second vaccine already. And then Cassandra Johnson, her response to the question of the day, she says she's not changing anything for now. I have elderly mother to protect as much as I have the power to do. And that's what I'm saying. These guys get it. They are responding. They're saying they're not going, just all free willy-nilly off the gate just because all of a sudden we've made progress. One more comment here by Ms. Carr. She says she got tested Saturday with Groundwater Solutions at Brandon's single parent event, which speaks to your work out in the community. Yeah. Brandon Brown, who is with Save Single and Single. It's a 3 S's. He's always out and about. And so Ms. Carr was there as well, and she got tested. And that's what we're pushing. Regular testing. So thank you guys for those comments. We want to read more. Go ahead and hop on and answer our question of the day. Now, at this point, you've been able to point out COVID cases that are still spiking in some counties, including Wayne, Duplin, Forsyth, and Guilford. And you already mentioned that you're concerned that we'll see more spiking. You feel confident that we still aren't there yet, and we
We're
should.
not there yet.
Okay.
Again, the vaccine does not stop the spread of COVID. The vaccine will not stop you from contracting COVID, and it will not stop you from transmitting it to someone else. And so I think there is a misconception out there. I think we have some very intelligent viewers with your show, but I think the average person in our community just doesn't get that. And so, they think they're safe. The person who said they have to protect their mother,
Yeah.
an elderly mother, that mother may be vaccinated, that a person who made the comment might be vaccinated, but again, they could still contract COVID, bring it into the home, and the mother can contract COVID. The key to staying alive is early detection, knowing that we have COVID, quarantining or isolating at home, and getting the appropriate treatment so we do not spread it to other people. But the spread is still out there. I believe the numbers are misleading because the numbers of testing has gone down drastically because every one is focused on the vaccine. Every health department in North Carolina, they're not doing COVID testing anymore. They're
Yeah.
only doing the vaccine. So of course those numbers are going down, but the hospitalizations and the deaths are not.
So that what leads to my question. Then the testing numbers are trending down, and we've talked about that. Again, you
Mhm.
have been one of the people that have pointed that out. But I got this good question here from John Brentley. He says, if it won't stop it, then why get it? And I assume he's talking about the vaccine. So if it's not going to stop you from getting COVID, then what's the point?
It's going to mitigate or reduce your likelihood of having severe medical conditions or medical reactions because of COVID. Very similar to the flu vaccine, it may not prevent you from getting the flu vaccine, but it will help you have from having a life-threatening reaction. So it is important to I believe that the research shows that the vaccine is important to consider. There's still some issues out there with them, but for the most part, we believe it will keep you from dying. That's really it,
That's
but it
one.
will not keep you from getting it. Say that again, Tanya.
That's one good reason.
That
I
is one good reason because COVID is real, and to be
And look,
quite
and I'm not
honest,
laughing.
even
I'm not
yesterday.
making light of it either, because honestly, we lost over 500,000,
Mhm,
which is
mhm,
so sad. And to hear that we didn't have to is even more disheartening. But
mhm,
if it's going to keep you alive, and John
mhm.
says he understands now, thank you. So I did
You're
want to
welcome.
put that in. And yeah, sometimes
Mhm,
we just have to laugh to make light of all that we've been through. So you can
yeah.
go ahead. You
Yeah,
can say,
but someone even yesterday, someone told me COVID is fake. It's not real. People aren't really getting sick from COVID, and that's spoken from someone who maybe has not experienced those symptoms or lost a loved one due to COVID-19. But I believe most of us and most of us on the call and on the show know that COVID is real. We've
yeah,
personally experienced it. I personally had COVID and I knew immediately something very bad was happening in my body. So if you've contracted it, there are some people who have contracted COVID and had no symptoms. They were asymptomatic, but for most people, they know that it's real, and they know it's real when they see the folks in the hospital. I have a coworker whose dad was in the hospital for 8 months
ooh,
on a
hey,
ventilator. I don't even, that is nothing but God that man survived. But he
yeah.
is still dealing with the aftermath and the damage that COVID causes to your body. So, so we just have to be educated. It is real. It is not going to stop the spread by getting the vaccine, but if you choose to get vaccinated, I think that is very important. But until everybody's vaccinated, is still going to be a challenge. And so reopening, let's just be safe. Let's be smart. And I think everybody has to have the light bulb moment before it's really safe if we go to places that are 100%. Because if some of those people in there are not taking COVID-19 seriously, then you're at a potential threat.
And then you'll see another outbreak in the spike that we're trying to avoid, and we don't want to go back. And John says, thank you. So I appreciate you responding to
You're
that.
welcome.
Now, I know testing, you push testing. That's what I've been trying to do. So
Mhm.
salute to you for that. If you could have a conversation with some of our lawmakers and decision makers right now, how would you tell them, or what would you say to them about our recovery plan as it relates to testing?
that it must include testing for businesses, for schools, for any organizations where we're going to have folks gathered, that there has to be a serial testing protocol to prevent spreading. If we reopen without that as part of the plan and we say, oh, just do the masking, do the social distancing, do the hygiene, we're going to see tremendous COVID spiking. Again, early detection, getting those folks who are positive to be out of those public gathering places, that's going to prevent the spread. But if we are not testing, then you're going to have folks who are COVID positive who are in the midst, in the schools, in the business offices, in the salons, and you're going to have spikes.
And it's unfortunate because the whole issue is inconsistency. We were kind of learning as we went along. But one thing that's been consistent all along, especially with you, is regular testing. And when I hear you say early detection is key, that's with any disease, with anything. If we talk about breast cancer, prostate, you name it, it's always
Mhm.
about early detection. So I
Mhm.
really don't understand why this isn't being pushed more. But I want to ask you one more question before I have two, but I'm going to throw this in because I received this today and it was really disheartening as I see the G Man has hopped on and says everything is looking and sounding good. We appreciate that. Two hospital executives in Chicago's Loretta Hospital, they're being reprimanded, not fired. They're reprimanded because they were holding COVID-19 vaccine events. And get this, they gave shots to people located outside its West Side facility, which obviously was mostly minorities, and they held an event for workers at Trump Tower. The other was at the hospital president's suburban church. So what that means is they weren't giving any black people these vaccines. They were picking and choosing who they would give them to. Does that come as a surprise to you? Because that kind of breaks my heart.
Not at all. Not at all. I think, there's always been disparity and inconsistencies in treatment, healthcare, and all of those things with regard to marginalized populations or people of color. I think Biden and even Governor Cooper and the administration here in North Carolina has made a concerted effort, been intentional in making sure that those vaccinations get out to people of color, people who will otherwise not get that. In some states, that is not happening.
Wow.
And if we don't intentionally do it, then that is exactly what's going to happen throughout this country and throughout this world, that the upper elite, those with the resources and the finances and who don't look like us, will be the ones who are getting those vaccines, and we will be left in the dark.
Wow. Well, let's hope that we stay on top of this. I know you got to run. You've got something else to do. You're in the lab today.
Yeah,
So
I'm
real
in the
quick,
lab.
yeah, all official. Let us know where Groundwater Solutions is testing today.
We are at Master Cuts on Ashley Road, and we are at University Adult Daycare in the University Complex near Sam's.
And next week, you guys get to start doing
Yeah,
vaccine.
next week we start vaccinations. We will be doing back testing and vaccination events. Again, I've stressed on the show in the past that testing is very important prior to you taking the vaccine, because the vaccine is actually inserting COVID, a small amount of COVID-19 into your system, or SARS-2, which is the actual thing that causes COVID-19. And so if you are already COVID positive and you take that vaccine, that's where we're seeing the medical issues and the folks who are dying. So we are testing first as what should be the protocol, and then vaccinating second. And so our events are starting this weekend, and we hope to be doing this throughout the months of April, May, and June.
Good stuff. And hopefully we'll see you out there and keep you involved. Dr. Tracia Black,
Thank you.
Groundwater Solutions. People, our producer put up how they can get in touch with her. Of course, you can go to their website or even the phone number. We'll get that for you. She'll put it in the chat as well. Amelia does an amazing job. There we go. Groundwater-solutions.org or genesisproject1.com. Make sure you reach out. You guys have been talking, chatting today, which is really great. You see me peeping over to the side. Cassandra says, Lord Jesus, will it ever stop? the trust in God to change the racism. I know, sis. I know the weigh in on that. The fact that they could even live with themselves to pick and choose who was getting the vaccines, and even just in an impromptu conversation with one of the professionals I use, he shared that he had gone out of the county to get his vaccine, and I was like, well, interesting. I hadn't thought about that. I'll wait my turn. And he goes, I thought about it too. And this was a white gentleman, and he said to me, I thought about it, but you wouldn't believe the stories I've been hearing about people doing whatever they can to get vaccines and break line. And that's some sense of entitlement right there. That's all it is. I mean, we've got rules to follow, but you feel like it doesn't matter. You've got to break line or do whatever you take, or you're going to go outside of the community that you're serving and give them the vaccines first. You're right. Sis, we just got to keep on praying for this racism and nonsense that we're dealing with day in and day out. And with that said, thoughts and prayers, and we keep doing that, praying and not making any changes. We've had two mass shootings in the last week, one in Atlanta and one in Boulder, Colorado. It's time for the citizens to really make a noise and make us think about doing something about all of this hate and violence that we're dealing with day in and day out. But I appreciate you all tuning in. Of course, this is about canceling COVID. I just wanted to weigh in on that. Looks like our time is up, my dear friends. I appreciate you logging on. Most importantly, I need for you to share this. We are looking at sponsors, and we're hoping sponsors will look at us. And a big part of that is you sharing this conversation, letting them know that people are tuned in, that you're getting great information. We look to educate you. Thank you so much to Roshica. Chica's Hair Design, my stylist. Thank you for sharing. And then, of course, Dr. Tracia Black of Groundwater Solutions for all the great work that she does. We'll be back here on Friday at 1 o'clock. Hopefully, you'll join us then as well. One thing we know for sure, together, we're going to cancel COVID. So have a great day, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon.